everyone. Happy Monday and greetings from IPC New York, Queens Village. For today's Motivational Monday, I wanted to talk about one of Jesus's most well-known parables and one of his most popular parables. And the reason why I wanted to talk about it is because I think it is very inspirational, and I hope that it not only inspires you in the week ahead, but helps you to inspire the people that are around you. And so this parable is found in Luke chapter 10, verses 29 to 37, and it is the parable of none other than the Good Samaritan. And so to really understand and appreciate this parable, we have to talk a little bit about the setup. And so essentially, we have this person, a Jew, who is asking Jesus the question of why is it important to love our neighbors, and not only that, what is the reward of loving your neighbors? And so Jesus responds very elegantly with this parable, and it's the parable of the Good Samaritan. So in this parable, Jesus talks about this road going from Jerusalem to Jericho. And in this time, everybody knew that this road was very dangerous. So this was common knowledge that this route from Jerusalem to Jericho was dangerous. This was not a road you wanted to be going on by yourself. And the reason why is because there were many thieves, robbers, and dangerous people that were hiding in various corners on this route. And so you didn't want to be attacked and go by yourself. However, on this road, this Jewish traveler decided to take the path and go by himself. And so pretty much everybody that was listening to this parable knew where this was going to go. They knew that this Jewish traveler was likely going to get injured. And wouldn't you know it, in the parable, he does. He gets injured by one of the thieves that are hiding in the path. And so this Jewish traveler is very badly injured and left on the side of the road, basically, in need of medical, serious attention, basically. He just needed help. And so a few people came by as they were going on their own way down the path. The first person was a priest. There was a priest, a Pharisee, who came by and saw this person who was injured, and the priest actually did not stop and help. The priest chose to keep going. And I'll talk a little bit about this once the parable's over. But after this priest goes on his way, a Levite also comes by. A Levite is walking and sees this person who's injured, and they don't stop either. They keep going down their way. They need to get to where they're going. So they leave this person who is still injured and in need of help. Finally, a Samaritan comes by, and a Samaritan sees this person, and it says that he has compassion for him. And how does he have compassion from? What are the results of his compassion? What comes out of it? Well, he ends up stopping. He helps clean his wounds with wine, which on this road from Jerusalem to Jericho, he probably didn't have a lot of. So he probably used what he had to help this person who was injured. So using kind of what you have, even and not being selfish, was what this Samaritan did, because he had empathy for this person who was injured. He knew that most likely if this were him, he would want some kind of help, right? So this Samaritan cleans and bandages his wounds and dresses them, and not only that, he doesn't just stop there. He takes him to an inn and pays for his night stay at the inn so that he could rest. And so this is pretty much the end of the parable, and Jesus goes on to describe that the actions of the Samaritan are that he loved his neighbor as himself. And to actually talk about the history of the Samaritans at this time, this the phrase love your neighbor as yourself, actually at that time it was kind of as love your enemies as yourself, because the Samaritans and the Jews were sworn enemies of one another at this time. So traditionally in this time, it would have been a shock to people to hear that a Samaritan helped a Jew, or vice versa. And so this Samaritan, who otherwise would have had no reason to help a Jew, went out of his way and did not even stop to think about what his preconceived notions of the other person was. He just saw somebody that needed help. And so when we think of a good Samaritan today, we think of somebody who's a charitable helper. But back then, that's not how it was seen. A Samaritan wasn't seen as somebody who was good. And so this idea that a Samaritan is good came out of the story from this person who was selfless and helped another person who was in need. And so there are a couple of different things coming out of this story. One is that we have to help those who are in need and love our neighbors as ourselves, even when it's hard, even when these people are our enemies or people that we might not think of helping otherwise. Little acts of kindness can go a long way, and the people that we think are different from us are actually not very different at all. And so this parable helps to remind us of that. And it's important to remember those principles. The second thing I wanted to highlight is going back to the priest. The priest came and they saw this person who was injured, but they kept walking. And so most likely during this time, it's not really elaborated on in this parable in Luke 10:29 to 37. It's not explained very clearly, but most likely what happened was that the priest was probably in a hurry to get to one of his ceremonial events, because at that time priests typically did, and the Pharisees typically did, a lot of ceremonial events and roles and things of that nature. And so they probably couldn't get themselves dirty, and basically most likely what happened is this Pharisee was so in tune or so adamant about keeping up with the rules, what he needed to do, his duties and responsibilities, that he forgot or did not take the time to help this person who is in need. And so this is another point I think that's very important, is that we need to not let these daily things in our lives are so busy, we have so many things to do, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't take the time to seek out others who may be in need and help them if the need does arise. So that's just another point I find that is very inspiring about the Good Samaritan, was that this is somebody that otherwise should not have had any reason to help, but went out of their way to help this person because they had love and compassion for them. And so it's a very simple parable, but I hope that we can use it in our everyday life as you go out into this next week to help the people that are around you and be a good Samaritan, and make the name of a good Samaritan mean something in your daily life. And so I hope that this message is very inspiring, and I hope that it's a blessing for you, and I hope you have a great week.